Okay, let's go through assignment 9.2. This question says, how many people said soccer is their favorite sport? You just go to the soccer circle and you have to add both of those numbers, 35 and 50, and you get 85. How many females are in the data set? You go to the circle for female and then you add the 26 and 50 and you get 76. How many males chose baseball? There is no word baseball on this, but there were only two things asked on this survey, whether they liked soccer or baseball. Actually, there was another thing, whether they were male or female. So if you're not in the female circle, then you are male. That means that this 30 is male. But this 35 is also male. These are the males that liked soccer. These are the males that didn't like soccer. And since the only other choice was baseball, then these are the males that like baseball. So the answer is 30. Okay, that's a bit confusing because there's some hidden information in this table, and that's part of what you're trying to learn here, okay? What is the probability that a person would say soccer is their favorite sport? So we do all of the soccer, which is 35 plus 50. That gives me the 85. But it's out of the total, so you have to add all four numbers together, and that's how I got 141. Okay, the last question is maybe the most confusing in this section. What is the probability that a female would say soccer is their favorite sport? So in other words, out of all of the females, what percent say soccer is their favorite sport? So you have to go to all the females, which is this circle. You add those two together to get 76. That's my denominator, okay, because it's out of all of those females. So now we're not talking about the whole 141 anymore. We're just talking about the females, which is 76. And it was out of all those females, what percent say soccer is their favorite sport? So we have to go to the 50, which is soccer, and that's why it's 50 out of all of the 76 females. Okay, this one's kind of similar to the previous page. How many people said math is their favorite subject? You go to the math circle, and you can add those two together, and that's how I got 105. Then how many 10th graders are in the data set? Well, if you're not in the 9th grade circle, then you're in 10th grade, because this survey was only about 9th or 10th graders. Okay, sorry 11th or 12th graders, you're not included here. So if you're not 9th, then you're 10th. So this 65 was 10th graders that preferred math. This 25 were 10th graders that didn't prefer math, which means they preferred science. Okay, so how many 10th graders? You add 25 and 65. That is how I got 90. All right, how many 9th graders chose science? We don't want to be in the math, so it's either these two numbers, but we want just 9th graders, so the answer is 35. Number 9, what is the probability that a person would say science is their favorite subject? We add up all the science, so not in this circle, that's 35 and 25. That gives you 60. And it's out of everybody, which we already calculated was, or maybe we didn't already calculate it. You just add up all four numbers and you get 165. Okay, what is the probability that a 10th grader would say science is their favorite subject? In other words, if you are a 10th grader, then the probability of science being your favorite subject is what percent? So now we're not looking at the whole 165. We're looking at just the 10th graders. So if we look at, we're not going to be here in the 9th grade circle. We're going to look at just these two numbers. So we're out of just these people, 65 and 25. That's where that 90 came from. And we're looking at the percent of them, or the probability of them being from science. This is not science, because that's math. This is science and 10th grader. So it's 25 out of the 90 10th graders. All right, on this section, first we had to fill out this table. So let's see, you could do this in a variety of ways. You didn't have to do it in the order that I'm doing it here, but I know that these two columns here are all the soccer players, and they have to add up to 85. So if I take 85 and subtract 50, then I get 35. Once I know 35, I can do 35 plus 30 to get all of the freshmen, 65. And since I have all of that, I can come down this way and do 65 plus 76 and get the total of 141. And then I can subtract backwards. So I go 141 minus 85 to get that 56, and 76 minus the 50 to get the 26. Okay, so once you fill out the chart, you can answer the questions down here. What is the probability that a student is a freshman, given that you know they play soccer? So we know they play soccer. I'm going to highlight on this now. We know that you're in this section of the table, and we're going to ignore the rest of the table. We don't even care about it. So, let's go back to the pointer. Okay, so there are a total of 85 soccer players, and 35 are freshmen, so it's 35 out of 80, and that's how I got that answer. Okay, what is the probability that a student plays baseball, given that they are a sophomore? Okay, well now we know that they are a sophomore. I'm going to choose a different color. So I know that I'm in this category this way now, and I can ignore the rest of the table. I don't care about it at all. I just care about that shaded section. And since the question is the probability that they play baseball, given that they're a sophomore, the baseball players are 26 out of all the 76 sophomores. So it's 26 out of 76. Okay, so when you're doing these problems, these are called conditional probability problems. You're actually shrinking the size of the table, and you're only looking at part of it, not the total. Notice in those problems, I never use the 141. All right, in this section, we filled out the table just like we filled out the table on the other side. I'm not going to go through all of that, except for this is an expanded table because there's 4 categories here, right? So in order to get 60, I have to subtract 15, 20, and 15 to leave me with 10. You can play the puzzle here out and figure out the rest of those. It's just the same exact process. So let's go on to this one. What is the probability that you get a male student with a favorite color of blue if you pick a student at random? Now that's saying a student at random. That's from everybody. So we're looking at this 130 is our whole total number of students. And male in blue is only 15. So it's 15 out of 130. 15 out of 130. This is a very different question, number 26. It sounds like they're kind of the same, but they're not. What is the probability that a student's favorite color is blue, given that they are male? So this is that situation where we know that they're male, so you have to be in this part of the table. You can be nowhere else. And so the total number of male students that preferred blue was 15, and it's out of just the male students, 60. So 15 divided by 60 is the correct answer. Okay, so what is the difference between question 25 and 26? 25 is just what's the probability of being male with a favorite color blue out of everybody, whereas question 26 is given that you know you're male, so now we're shrinking it down to just being out of 60 male students, what's the probability you're blue? That's a really, really different question. All right, the last set of questions is maybe the hardest little puzzle here of all. Basically, we know there were 6,525 people altogether, so that immediately goes down here in the bottom corner as the total of each column, or column and row. Then we know that there were 3,123 that had on shorts, and the rest had on pants. So those are the ones that had on shorts, the rest had on pants. You just subtract that from 6,525 to get 3,402. All right, we're done with the first 2 clues. The next clue is kind of like the warm-up that we had in class on Friday. 45% of those wearing shorts were blue shorts. So you take the shorts, these are the shorts, this is the total number of shorts, and we want to find 45% of 3,123. Here's my work up here. You take your 3,100 and, ooh, I wrote that wrong, huh? 3,123, and you multiply by 0.45 to get 1,405. That is the correct answer, even though I've got one extra little number there. Okay, then I'm going to figure out this box right here. We already had this one calculated, and this clue says that of those wearing pants, 88% were blue. So we find 88% of this number. To find 88%, you change 88% to a decimal, 0.88, and you multiply it by the total number of pants, which is 3,402. Use a calculator, and you get 2,990. Actually, you get 2,993 point something, 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 and you need to round that correctly. So double check and see if you got a 4 there. Okay, then you can, because it says in here to round to the nearest whole person, okay. So then you can add up these columns to get that number. You can add up, oh, and then here you would subtract, you would go 3,402 and subtract that number to get 408. similarly for that one, and you can finish off the table there. Okay, so that's a tricky problem. Definitely puts to practice a lot of the things that we've talked about in class, at least with percents and tables. Okay, number 37. X is what, or is 20% of 160. So I would convert that into a math equation from English language. What is the variable x? Is the equal signs. 20% is the 0.020 as a decimal. Of means multiplication. And 160 is just the number 160. So it's telling you to multiply 160 by 0.2. And you get 32. All right, 60 is what percent of 250? 60 is the equal sign. What percent is the thing we don't know? So we use a variable. Of again means multiply. And 250 is the number 250. Here you divide by 250, so you're going to get 60 divided by 250. Grab your calculator, turn it into a percent. Okay, to the nearest tenth, so there's going to be some rounding going on. What percent of 350 is 50? So what is the x, or what percent is the x? Of is the times, 350, is the equals, and 50. So you divide by 350, and that goes in the denominator. You get this decimal, and it said round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So when you change this to a percent, it's going to be 14.28, but the 8 is going to bump that up to be a 3. Okay, I hope this was helpful.